In the year of our Lord, 2007, I, Ron Bingham, holding the keys of the genealogy of the records of my family, being the descendants of Aaron and Moses and Lot and David's son Nathan, as they were the descendants of Mattathiah, the Jewish patriot. Jesus Christ was from my family. His mother, Mary, was a direct descendant of these people. And I hold the records of the key of genealogy of the bloodlines of my people and their travels and wanderings since the time of Christ and before, all the way down to us, from us to Noah. That the Binghams, a nomadic wandering tribe in Denmark, spoke the language on the gold plates found in Mexico known as the plates of ether. That my family spoke this language when they came into the Roman provinces about 200 years before Christ, and that they were the descendants of Nimrod, the mighty hunter, and that the carpenters and Zimmermans are the descendants of Aaron from Mattathiah back in the day, and the church needs these bloodlines so they can fit the genealogy of the world around these bloodlines. My grandmother died back in North Carolina, and I inherited the genealogy of my family. And when I looked at it and read it, I realized that it was the record of the descendants of Aaron that was supposed to be brought to the church in the last days. And so that's why I'm here, and that's what I'm doing. And I got all the bloodlines, and strange things have happened. And then tell them about Granny Bingham and the story of what my granny said, that Jesus Christ had visited my family, and they were the direct descendants of Roni, and we are the descendants of Moron, that he prayed about in the Book of Mormon, that my family knew about the Book of Mormon, and Jesus Christ visited them 100 years before the Book of Mormon ever surfaced, and it was in the language of my family that Jesus Christ had visited my people, and that everyone in my family was illiterate, and nobody ever heard about the Book of Mormon in my whole family because they were in the Appalachian Mountains, and they were Indians. And so my people are the descendants of Roni, and all the bloodlines of my people cross sides back and forth, where we're the descendants of the prophets and their children, and the lines cross, and we're the descendants of the patriarchal line of Ham and the Aaronic line, and the line of Jethro, the Melchizedek priest, and the line of Moroni, who was the last Aaronic priest in America. Let it be known of these bloodlines and the genealogy thereof, that my family had travelings of everywhere we had ever existed, clear back unto the times of Noah, that the Binghams spoke the original language of Ham, that they were the descendants of Nimrod, king of Babylon, that they were of the sons, that they were a nomadic wandering tribe in Denmark, that they spoke the original language of where Morian Cummer prayed to God that our language wouldn't be confounded, that Jared was a descendant in our family and Morian Cummer, and that our family had split up, but my family had spoken the language on the plates of ether found in Mexico, even though they were a nomadic wandering tribe in Denmark that stumbled into the Roman provinces about 200 years before Christ, that they spoke the original language of Ham and of Noah and of Adam, and that my family held the priesthood of the patriarchal line of Ham, and that this line is a bloodline all the way down to me, father to son from them, and that the descendants of Aaron and Alexander Janus, who was a descendant of Simon Maccabeus and Simon's father, the priest of Modin, about 15 miles west of Jerusalem, the Jewish patriot, that he was a descendant of Judah on his father's line, and his mother's line was a descendant of Aaron, and that Mattathiah was the father of Simon Maccabeus and the leader of the Jewish revolt that conquered the Romans in 167 BC, and that we are the descendants of Simon, and Mary was from our family, and that describes the relationship between John and Mary and Elizabeth were all from my family, and their lines were of my family. And that John was killed, and that my grandfather became high priest, and that Simon Maccabeus' son, John Hyrcanus, was high priest and leader of Judah before they were kings. And then Archelaus, his son, and John Hyrcanus II, Archelaus' son, and Archelaus II, John Hyrcanus the second son. And that Alexander Janus married Salome, who was Alexandria, who was the daughter of Herodias, Herod's sister, and that their daughter Salome married Herod Philip, and that Bernice was Salome's daughter from Herod Philip and John's cousin, in which she had John slain and had his head delivered on a platter. That they were all my family, and that we were the descendants of Aaron, and that we were in exile in Germany and Paris, and in the descendants of the Crusaders and the Knights of, what are they called? Toller. What's it called, Andy? Help me. The Knights of, the Knights.
Templar
Knights. And that my family were Templar Knights in exile in Switzerland, but my family had close ties to Paris, and their pictures hang on the palace walls in Paris to this day for who they were. That we were from the Count of Switzerland, the Marquis de Fontenay, and Salome married Heinrich Zimmermann, my 10th generation grandfather, and they were immigrants to America. And they are the descendants of Aaron here in America to this day from their bloodlines. And Diana was a Huguenot, and she was a descendant of Louis XIV, and that's Diana's Huguenot line, and my family were cousins of all those bloodlines. That we were the descendants of Casanova de Fontenay, and he was the Frenchman, and those bloodlines go back to Bernice at the Canton of Bern on Lake of the Four Cantons in the Royal Canton of Bernice, Switzerland. And these bloodlines are the bloodlines that the Mormons have been looking for 180 years, and about Joseph Smith, that he prophesied would come to the church in the last days with the bloodlines for the church for a small fee.